Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Neil Howard, here on Health Professional Radio. Glad that you could join us again. In this segment, we're going to be speaking with City of Hope patient Christal Love. She's joining us to share her personal breast cancer journey. After receiving suboptimal cancer care, Love sought a second opinion and found City of Hope. Now, City of Hope is a compassionate cancer research and treatment organization in L.A. Welcome to Health Professional Radio, Christal. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to your cancer diagnosis. Tell us about that day.
I was getting undressed one day, felt something in my breast, didn't know what it was, didn't think breast cancer. After 2 weeks and the lump was still there, I had thought in my mind I pulled a muscle because my nephew at the time was kind of heavy. Mm-hmm. So I thought I pulled a muscle, didn't think anything of it. I told my husband, like, hey, I have this lump. And he's like, that's something serious. And I just kind of downplayed it to him. Mm-hmm. He told his auntie, who is a breast cancer survivor. And she was like, no, Christal, this is serious. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay. I went to Planned Parenthood because I needed some birth control pills. Mm-hmm. And I just casually mentioned to her, like, hey, I know you guys do women's health care, health checkups. I have this lump in my breast. And she stopped and looked at me and she said, well, I can't give you birth control pills if you have a lump. She gave me a form, told me to take it to my primary doctor. I was still not thinking this is anything serious. I looked on the paper. It did say it was the size of a golf ball. Whoa. But I'm still like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Very nonchalant. And I went to my doctor's, tucked the paper, and I was like, I've been going to my primary doctor for over 20 years. I gave the receptionist the form. She looked at it. She's like, hold on a second. Let me go talk to Dr. Anderson. She comes back. She's like, Christal, sit down. Dr. Anderson said she's going to squeeze you in right now today. And I'm still like, okay, nonchalant. I go back. I see the doctor. She's like, no, this is serious. She sent me to do a mammogram and an ultrasound. And I went to BreastLink in Temecula, California, and the mammogram showed something, and then the ultrasound, and the doctor that did the ultrasound showed me right there on the screen, this is it, and it's metastasized to your lymph nodes. And I still was like, she don't know what she's talking about. I was like, I know it's a 1 in 8 women. And I'm like, I'm not that one. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She knew exactly what she was talking about. I did a biopsy 3 days later because she was like, this is urgent. Mm-hmm. She was like, I want to do it. She was going on maternity leave. Actually, I was her last patient before she went on maternity leave. And she wanted to make sure that she did this biopsy herself. And it came back exactly what she said. Yeah. But I wasn't prepared. They had me thinking it was stage 1 or stage 2. And then when I went to see the oncologist that I say is the doctor from hell, she very rudely told me, I don't know why you have that pamphlet for stage 1 or stage 2. You have stage 3, possibly stage 4. Wow. Just threw that out like there was nothing, no compassion. Like, I drove home with my husband, and at the time, I think my daughter was maybe 4 and she was like 5 or 6. I drove home just like in shock. Couldn't believe, like, this lady just casually told me I have stage 3 or stage 4, like it was nothing.
How old were you at the time?
I was 39. I was 4 or 5 months away from my birthday. I found the lumps in April, and I didn't turn 40 until August.
How long did it take you to find City of Hope? And I know you say you drove in shock, but how long did you stay in that state of shock before coming across City of Hope? And how did that happen?
BreastLink did the mammogram. It was a surgeon there. She referred me to an oncologist. I was with this oncologist. I did all my chemo with her. And my primary doctor was like, you need to go to City of Hope. I Googled City of Hope. I seen how far it was from my house. And I was like, that's a little too much. My kids were in high school at the time, high school, elementary, high school, middle school, and I had a little one. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, that's way too much, on my family. So I was like, this lady went to school. This is what she does. And then one day she just said something that really, and I couldn't believe she said this. I got in my car and I cried. And it wasn't crying because she hurt my feeling. It was crying because I realized this lady does not care about me. She's going to end up killing me. And I had the referral like 6 months from City of Hope. I called my insurance, asked them, is this referral still valid? They're like, yes. I called City of Hope, and it moved so quick. I think I called, and I was in 2 weeks later, I was in doing a consultation. That was March 1st. March 17th, I seen a surgeon. March 27th, she had me in surgery.
Now, you've been an advocate for yourself for quite some time. What do you have in the way of advice for, people to advocate for themselves, especially in light of all of the healthcare disparities that have become front of mind here in the last couple of years, especially when it comes to people of color?
If it doesn't sound right to you, don't do it. Follow your first mind. If you think something's wrong, ask questions. And if they give you a hard time about asking the questions, go somewhere else. You have to be your number one. You have to be your number one cheerleader. You know your body. And if something doesn't seem right, 9 out of 10 times, it's not right.
How did your beauty and hair care products play a role in your diagnosis, if any?
That's the thing I don't know. I've always heard of, perms and different products causing cancer, but I never, no studies have ever been done. So I'm thinking, okay, these are just rumors, because if this was true, why are these products still, being sold at the store? Why haven't any of these products been pulled? So when you hear stuff like that, you're like, okay, It can't be true because they're still on the shelf. But once I got diagnosed, that's when I was like, okay, I threw out everything. Started researching, looking at ingredients, checking what I put on my hair, in my body, everything.
Prior to your diagnosis, had you heard of any preventive measures having to do with products, or your aunt being a breast cancer survivor, you had never reached out to her or heard her story prior to your own diagnosis?
No, because she was very private with it, and I totally understand. I didn't tell everyone that I had breast cancer, just a select few. I mean, I would go out to the store and people would look at me because I had lost 30 pounds when I did chemo. And so I understood why she didn't just tell everyone. That's something very private. And I wouldn't say ashamed, but I just didn't like the way that I looked. So I understood why she didn't say anything. I've never heard of them doing like any studies or anything like that on products that are made for people of color.
Is there a website where our listeners can learn more? I know 10 minutes is not a lot of time, but if you would, give us a website where we can learn more about City of Hope. Yes,
that website is cityofhope.org, and that's cityofhope.org. The best hospital. That's Great. Where you need to be.
Christal, thank you so much for your time. I know it's not been a lot of time. Maybe you can come back and we can talk more about your journey and your recovery, and maybe some more advice for people who find themselves in your position.
Yes, I would like that anytime.
Great. You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard, in conversation with Christal Love. Audio copies of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, listen in, download at SoundCloud, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com, Health Professional Radio.